Hi everyone, Vanessa here. I'm trying to do better about getting videos up on my YouTube, and I thought I would do something a little bit different. I'm gonna call this one "Being Haunted," and I kind of got the idea based on what we talked about towards the end of the show last night with Noreen Sampier Balovich. I did one of her shows on the Bennington Triangle. And we went through all of that and talked about all of that. And then towards the end, the viewers were asking me questions about, you know, where it got started with what Noreen was talking about pictures that were sent to me from Royce about things around me. um, this isn't new. It's my doggy right there. This isn't new. This is something that we are very used to. Like I said, she's not even bothered anymore by it. Um, it's just, it's my life. It's all I know. It's, it's something that I have become very accustomed to, and to actually not have spirits around me trying to communicate. It's almost like little mini vacations. It's, it's interesting to say the least. Anyway, I digress. It was the topic was brought up based on those pictures, and it's really interesting because I deal with it so much that I fail to remember that others who might have certain abilities or certain talents or gifts, that they can see them as well. And what Roy saw was multiples around me. And a few days before the show last night, he sent me the images, and they were slightly modified, as far as contrast, as far as flipping the tones and making it kind of like a negative, so that things would show up a little bit easier to see. Which, I bless him for that, but it was obvious. It's obvious. I don't know if there's anyone that's going to watch this that has those special abilities, but I tend to have, something in this area, all around this area, behind me. They just kind of follow me around, and it's it really is being haunted. It doesn't mean that it's the same one, and that's where I think things can get kind of sketchy and a little bit harder to understand. I'll give you a really good example. We all know I'm a dental assistant. I'm in the dental field, dental professional. And years ago, I was working for a large corporate dentistry that was treating underserved children, and it was a exceptionally busy practice. Very, very, very busy. We saw approximately anywhere from 120 to 150 patients a day. It was myself, nine other assistants, three hygienists, five doctors, and a full office staff. So it was a big practice, and our operatories, which is the rooms that we work out of as assistants with whichever doctor comes in there to work with us. We were all just, waiting our turn. The ones who didn't have a doctor with them were waiting our turn, for our turn with the doctor, so they could see our patient. And there were about three or four girls lined up, just sitting right there in their doors with their patients in the chair behind them, not leaving their patients. Then there was the hygienist in the hallway talking to us, and one of the office staff talking to us. And I had finished up and was coming out of one of the rooms and walking around the corner down that corridor, that hallway of rooms. And it was around the first to the middle part of October. which as we all know, we all talk about when the veil is thinner. The veil's thin for me all the time, but that was the topic of discussion. And it was interesting. I've stopped and I'm talking to them, and they all watched it. They all saw it. This is not something I could claim that happened that there weren't witnesses to. But I had on a lab coat because we have to wear those. And my lab coat, nobody around me, my lab coat got pulled out all the way like this and then wrapped around the front of my body, right in front of probably 6 or 7 witnesses. And I had to yell, not loudly, but forcefully, "Stop it." And it dropped. And everybody in the hallway was just like, and they knew, they knew what I, what I do, what my particular skill set is. It wasn't anything that I advertised necessarily back then. Cha cha, quit it. Cha cha, stop. Of course, I get on here and she starts chewing the dickens out of herself. Um, but it wasn't something that I was super duper open about. This was maybe 10, 12 maybe years ago, give or take. I don't know, maybe 10. Cha cha, stop it. And so I was still kind of not hiding what I can do, but hiding what I could do. But, they knew, but I didn't advertise. And it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see their response and to know that, hey, this happened in front of other people. So I don't have to convince anybody that it's true. They saw it. There it is, you know? And needless to say, it was a topic of conversation for a little bit. And then, of course, any other time something would happen, especially in front of somebody, that was a topic of conversation. And it just became more publicly known as my life. This is what I do. And whether I wanted to or not, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is this, at least for me, is not something I chose. I didn't seek it out. I fought it with everything I had. Um, I actually really, really blocked for many, many years. Many, many years. These particular abilities as a youth cost me friends, cost me sanity, you know, um, made people think that maybe I wasn't quite right in the noggin, you know, um, and it made it very difficult. So it's not something, even though I'm very public about it now, and even though I talk about it at great length, and people know who I am, they know things that have happened to me. It's not something that 20 years ago I would have ever thought about going public with. But it didn't mean that things weren't happening anyway, even with me blocking. Um, it's it's hard to make people understand that when you are in this particular position where you have things kind of coming out of left field all the time, whether it is sounds in your home or voices, the TV's turning off and on, your computer turning off and on, um, and I mean a computer that's not plugged in. I mean like a laptop that's not plugged in, that is shut. Okay. When your lights turn off and on, when you see things walking past your shower, when you know people that come to your home know that there are beings there that can't be seen with the naked eye. Not like we're looking, at another person live. Totally different. Um, it's hard to explain to people that you just don't you just don't pick haunted places to live in, that you're the one that's haunted. And I don't mean like, you're singled out and attacked, although that does happen. Um, I just mean, for lack of a better word, you are always surrounded, and you almost have to build up a rapport with those that are constantly coming and going, and set boundaries. Like my big boundary is, don't jack with me while I'm driving. That's a big one because it's dangerous. So that's a real big kicker for me, is don't try to, if at all possible, don't try to communicate with me while I'm behind the wheel. Don't try to make me see images while I'm behind the wheel. Don't try to get my attention in any way, if at all possible, while I'm behind the wheel, because that puts my life in danger and anybody who's in the vehicle with me, especially my son. And they have done, it's taken a while to really get that down, but they've done a really good job of understanding that, and of respecting that boundary. Either they've done a really good job, or I've done a really good job of blocking, one or the other. I will say this, that when I get tired, if I'm on a long trip, and I become fatigued, then my shield starts to drop, and it's not that they're trying to reach out to me at that point. Is that those that don't even know that I'm there, like somebody who passed away in a vehicle accident or something, um, I can't, I'm less successful in blocking that if I'm tired when I'm driving, and it makes it hard. It makes it really hard because I work a lot, y'all. I work all the time. So if I'm in the car going on a trip somewhere, odds are I've worked almost a full shift that day already. So I have to really make sure that I take care of myself, um, and stop and rest if necessary. There have been so many gas stations and IHOPs and the hell you call those things, Cracker Barrels, parking lots that I've stopped and slept in for a couple of hours. I've always went in and told somebody, "Hey, I'm out here. Don't let nobody kill me." Okay. but, um, but it's, I have to do that because I won't be able to not see them. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on the road and been very, very, very tired. And I see the people who have passed away in auto accidents, and I see them on the side of the road, how they were when they passed away, and it's heartbreaking. I think that might be probably one of the most difficult things to explain to people, because they're so conditioned to what is being shown on TV, with it being somewhat sensationalized, that they don't understand the reality of it and the toll that it takes on your soul, and how hard it is on your heart. That's it's not like the movies, where when you see somebody who has passed and they always look normal. It's not that way. Sometimes I see them in sepia tone, like an old photograph. Sometimes I see them very bloody and hurt, just like I'm looking at my hand right now, you know. I've seen soldiers walk across Hollywood Cemetery in Virginia as if there wasn't anything wrong with them, and they're walking, but they're missing an entire leg. But the one leg is moving in, like it would be in unison with the other. Um, I've seen, again, soldiers at Hollywood Cemetery that had one arm dangling. Nothing but, you know, sinew and tissue holding it. No bone attachment. Um, I've seen burn victims that look like the fire had just been put out on them. Seeing somebody headless, but they're talking to you with no head. Think about that. Think about that. How do you reconcile that? You know, especially when you're young. Think about that. How do you deal with that imagery when you know it's not on a TV when you're young? I didn't handle it very well. I didn't. Um, I'm doing much better now. Of course, I'm way older, you know. But it's one of the reasons why I think it's important for people to know exactly what it's like. I remember, oh, it must have been 6 or 7 years ago, something like that. Somebody had sent somebody from one of the shows my way. This was after Animal Planet and everything else, and they had messaged me or something, because they had heard about my story. That's the first time I've ever talked about this publicly. So yeah, you're gonna enjoy this. I don't even think I've told Mike this, but yeah, they contacted me about my story. I guess when it was portrayed to them, it sounded singular, like I had a paranormal experience as opposed to experiencing a paranormal life. So singular as opposed to plural. And and so I mean I talked to them. I talked to them and I said, well, this is what I got going on. And they said, oh yeah, we can't use you. And I said, for what? I guess it was for a show or something like that. And they said, we can't use you. And I said, well, I don't understand. I mean, not that I want to, but what do you mean? And they said, you have too much, too much. They said, we're looking for singular experiences. And I said, yeah, I'm not, I don't know how to help you with that. I don't, I really don't, Um, it would even be difficult, to try to explain that now because there's few places I can go where I'm not going to pick something up. There are a few places I can go that I'm not going to see something, and like when I go overseas or when I go to specific locations, it's if it's hard for me to understand, how could I possibly make somebody else understand? But I'm doing my best. That's the reason I try to put these out there and try to educate. Um, it's it's so much more than what we see on TV, what we see on social media, what we see, you know, portrayed in the movies. It really it's a way of life. I don't know how to be anything different. I tried, y'all. I tried. I did my darndest to be what you would consider normal, and it didn't work for me. So what I've had to do is find a way to incorporate me into this life. How can I do the best that I possibly can without losing myself? Which you can do. You can do that. You can lose yourself in this. You can become so jaded because people don't understand. You can become so fame hungry because of the attention. You can become so warped because of manipulation, because of wanting recognition and manipulating situations to allow you to receive that recognition. Um, I've done my best to make sure that I don't do any of those things, you know. Um, but it's a troubling existence sometimes. You know, it's funny. People ask me, why I'm single. Really? This is a full-time job that you don't get paid for. And I already have two other jobs. So, um, taking phone calls, taking emails, taking messages, trying to help, trying to pass along information, trying to remote, trying to do what I can for the people, the individuals and teams who contact me. It's a full-time job with zero financial benefit. And so when you add that onto the fact that it takes away from a relationship, yeah, you can see. Doomed from the get-go is what I'm saying. That having been said, there are situations I'm sure where it could work out, but there has to be a lot of understanding. You know, I don't see it any different than somebody who has a very demanding career. You know, I'm always shocked at especially wives, because it does happen a lot with wives. At wives who get pissed off because their husbands have to work a lot, you know. My ex-husband was in the military. I mean, yeah, we're ex now, but we were married the entire time he was in the military. You know, I did have an ex-boyfriend who got pissed off that I had to work so much, but fuck, we had to eat, you know. So it's just kind of one of those things. It takes a special person to be okay with this life. It also takes a special person to not think you're crazy, no matter how many times you prove that you're not or that you're accurate, dead on balls accurate. It takes a special person to look past their own insecurities and see it for what it is, and that's a calling. And for me, that's what being haunted is. I'm not a victim. It's my calling. It's I might not get to go out and do all of the weekend investigations that everybody does because I'm super duper busy with other things. But the places I do get to go, I'm meant to be there. It's it's the way it should be. And that's kind of what I'm just wanting to put out there is just to remind people that this isn't a curse. It's not you're not a freak. You're not weird. Okay, you're a little weird because I'm a little weird. Okay. Um, but you are special. We all have gifts. You just got to find out what makes yours special for you. Not better than anyone else, not worse than anyone else, special for you. And own the fuck out of that. Okay? Um, I'm not really sure where else I was going to go with that. You have to understand this has been a particularly active week in my little homestead. I have not slept it more than 2 hours at a time in a week. It's just been that active. So I'm starting to get little bags under my eyes. I'm, I'm pretty fucking tired. I'm not going to lie to you. So anyway, that was just kind of what I was wanting to talk about. Just throwing that out there. Um, is it just because you have activity around you all the time, just because you hear them all the time, or just because you feel them all the time, or just because other people can see them around you, and that's especially freaky when that happens, okay? Because it's disturbing when they can describe them like they do with me, and I'm like, you don't know what that fucker looks like, but they do. Um, just because all that happens, it doesn't mean that it's a bad. Not always. Now there are bad spirits, ghosts, whatever that can, come and attach themselves to you. Um, there can be some problems with that, but for the most part, it's just having that happen just means it's what you're meant to do. You're meant to find out why they're there. It's kind of about, what do ghosts want? Y'all, they want to be heard. That's what they want. They want to be heard. Maybe they also want to share some secrets with you. Maybe they want to tell you how things work a little bit. They won't give you a lot of information on that one, but they are helpful. Maybe they just need somebody to listen. Okay? Maybe they just need that. So, anyway, I'm tired. I am going to try to write some more without having a whole bunch of typos. And then I'm going to go to bed because guess what? My happy ass has to get up at the butt crack of dawn to go to work again. So, hi. Anyway, I'm going to let y'all go. If y'all have any questions, put them underneath here. And I will get to them as quickly as I can. I work a lot, so I can't guarantee how fast that will be, but I will try. Okay. So, put a little finger here and go over to this button, and I'll tell y'all I will talk to you soon.